Hello, this is Alexis Jensen. I recently had the pleasure of visiting the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, England. I visited this museum often when I studied at the London College of Fashion, but was excited to see what had changed in the years since I graduated. The V&A has a great collection of fashion throughout the decades, which I will be going over in my presentation. The fabric of fashion, 1750 to 1870. The Victoria and Albert Museum's fashion collection begins in the 18th century. Stylishness then depended on the garment's fabric rather than the cut and shape. The most expensive textiles of the time were silks and velvets, with the finest silks being made in France. Cotton became more popular in 1770, and the elegant designs and prints were what set the style apart, many of which were inspired by plants and flowers. Shown on the left is a men's formal coat made in 1760 of French silk velvet. The gown is from the Netherlands, made in 1770 from English copper-plated printed cotton. The shoes shown are from 1730 and 1740, and it amazes me the size and angle of them. They look unimaginable to walk in. In the 1810s to 1830s, evening dresses were still often made of silk and machine-made net, which was newly invented. For grand occasions, gold tinsel or embroidery would emphasize the bodice and the skirt hem. Men often wore tailored wool coats and breeches or pantaloons. The next decades included a lot of change. The first passenger railway was opened in 1830. Slavery was abolished in the British Empire in 1833, and the jacquard loom reduced labor costs and increased productivity. Women's dresses increased in volume with balloon sleeves and full skirts. Some dresses even included feather-filled sleeve supports, like the dress shown on the left. Petticoats were stiffened with horsehair or cord to provide shape. This style of dress is known as a sack and petticoat. This one is made up of 3 different patterns, which is very rare. The fabric was printed in 1760, and the garment was sewn in 1775. I also wanted to take a further picture of the display of this dress because I thought it was done so beautifully. The painting of the walls was gorgeous and helped to set the scene of the dress being worn, possibly in the countryside. Bright Young Things, 1870 to 1930. The fashion trade continued to grow internationally. Couture houses produced gorgeous clothing using silks, furs, lace, and embroidery. Britain became known for its tailor-made suits. Dressmakers and department stores were able to copy the latest fashions. Garments could also be bought ready-to-made, including corsets and bustles. All the garments and accessories on this page were created in London. Starting on the left, there is a day dress from 1908, made of linen, embroidered net, silk braid, and a silk satin ribbon. The middle picture features a pair of red shoes from 1897 and a green handbag estimated to be from 1890 to 1900. These shoes look a lot more reasonable to me. In the 1920s, fashion changed from the voluminous styles we've previously seen into a straighter, waistless silhouette known as the garçon look. Girdles and bandeau bras replaced the crinoline and cone bras previously seen to smooth the body into a desired boyish shape. The Modern Woman, 1925 to 1940. Art Deco styles launched onto the scene with full-length dresses that clung to the body. The fabric was often cut on the bias for a closer fit. The metallics of satins and silk were reflected in accessories such as polished metal clutch bags. Elsa Schiaparelli rose to prominence due to her dramatic and witty collections. You can see her design featured in the middle. She challenged the Grand Couture houses of Paris from her Italian atelier and introduced new versions of zip fastenings and a range of perfumes. This inspired other designers to come out with perfumes as well to help market their brand. The piece on the left is a promotional outfit made for Charles James's perfume, followed by a dress made by that designer on the right. The Pursuit of Perfection, 1940 to 1960. The production of couture became important to the economic recovery and prestige of France and Britain after the Second World War. Designers such as Dior, Balenciaga, and Givenchy became worldwide names. Haute couture also rose in prominence. Haute couture designs were made in-house, by hand, by specialist dressmakers and tailors. The dress on the left was designed by Yves Saint Laurent, who later rose to fame on his own, but at the time was designing for Christian Dior in 1960. The dress was made out of embroidered silk. Pierre Balmain made the dress in the middle out of silk satin woven with metallic thread. The evening dress on the right was created by designer Michael Sherard for his 1958 collection. Mary Quant, fashion revolutionary, 1960 to 1970. Mary Quant was a London-based designer. In 1955, she opened her Bazaar boutique, signaling the start of the swinging 60s. She tuned into the progressiveness of women in London's Chelsea neighborhood, creating designs that challenged traditional feminine stereotypes. UK manufacturers were integral to Quant's success, allowing her to mass produce and export looks in and out of Britain. She later expanded into cosmetics, toys, bed linens, and wine, which only expanded her fashion empire further. Globetrotting glamour, 1970 to 1985. As global airplane travel gained popularity, international influences made their way into silhouettes, patterns, and textiles. Sandra Rhodes, whose outfit is featured on the left, studied textile design at the Royal College of Art in London. She specialized in screen printing textiles and later went on to design clothing, like the piece featured. Zina Gessus, a Moroccan designer, was known for her elegant and comfortable designs. Her design is showcased in the middle. A Parisian designer, Thierry Mugler, who is one of my personal favorite designers, incorporated metallic textiles to achieve a dramatic futuristic effect as shown as in his garment on the right. Deconstructing fashion, 1975 to 1985. The 70s in London were all about challenging the status quo. British band the Sex Pistols helped head the punk movement. Punk was an anti-establishment, androgynous, and improvised. Its influence is long-lasting and still a huge part of today's fashion, music, and culture. As the punk movement grew in the UK during the 70s, so did punk-inspired designs. Vivienne Westwood, whose design is featured on the right, opened shop with Malcolm McLaren, whose design is featured in the middle, in central London that was heavily frequented by the Sex Pistols and other punk bands of the time. Japanese designers Yohji Yamamoto and Rei Kawakubo started the label Comme des Garçons in Paris. These garments were met with backlash because they challenged conceptions of beauty. Instead of form-fitting designs, they were oversized and asymmetrical, as you can see in the garment featured on the left. London Contemporary Menswear, 2012 to present. London is known globally for their menswear. Part of it comes from the long history of London tailoring and influence from the growing streetwear scene. Innovative textiles, digital printing, and tie-dyeing are all featured methods of London-based menswear designers. The two cardigans showcased on the right-hand side are from a viral DIY challenge that took place in 2020. In February of that year, Harry Styles was photographed wearing a J.W. Anderson cardigan. When the pandemic hit and people were looking for creative outlets, many took up crocheting. Liv Huffman, whose design is shown to the right of the original cardigan by Anderson, made her own and posted it on social media, starting a movement. Later, inspired by the trend, Anderson released a free downloadable pattern and tutorial of the cardigan to make at home. Radical fashion, 1990 to present. It is almost impossible to think of fashion without the internet these days. With the advent of global forecasting websites, individual blogs, online fashion magazines, and online shopping, the influences of these cannot be overstated. The gown featured on the end is an evening dress from Valentino for the Autumn-Winter 2013/14 collection. The trend, now referred to as quiet luxury, of avoiding overt labels and logos, was previously referred to as stealth luxury in the 90s and influenced designers such as Calvin Klein and Helmut Lang. Thank you so much for watching. I strongly recommend going to the Victoria and Albert Museum website. It's linked here, and they have so many good collections. It's so easy to find out more and look at more in-depth photos of anything featured. And if you have any questions for me, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.